Okay, it's Algebra Review Day 2. Remember, at the top of our page, we're writing on even number pages. We're starting a new page. All notes on even number pages. Here's our title, Algebra Review Day 2. That would be our title. And then 8/29/2013 is the date. Okay, materials are paper, pencil, and calculator. Here's your do now. Take just a few minutes and answer those questions. We'll pause the video now. Our guiding question. Remember, we're going to have an essential question. Our what are we going to learn, or objective, is we are going to review algebra concepts by solving multi-step equations. So how can we turn this into a question? How do you solve multi-step equations? There is our essential question. This is going to be our essential question. Goes right under your title. Okay, what is the point? Notice there's no pencil, so we don't need to write this down. It's just for your information. Read over it. Repeat and repeat. These are the vocabulary terms that we took down yesterday. So here's one. The elements in an equation or expression separated by positive or negative signs. What is that? Everyone all together. That's correct. Terms. Notice no pencil. We don't need to copy these down. What about this one? What is this one? Denominator. And this one? Equations must have an equal sign. What about this one? No equal sign is an expression. Letters. What do we call letters representing unknowns? Variables. What do we call it when we multiply two terms together to get rid of parentheses? That's our distributive property. Terms that contain the same variable with the same exponent we call like terms. Alright. A review of our steps. We wrote these down yesterday. We do not need to write them down again. And one more time. Here's get rid of fractions, and we changed this to parentheses. Step 2 is combine like terms. Step 3 is separate. We want our variable on one side, everything else, which is our numbers, on the other side. Step 4, divide by the number with the variable. Step 5 is undo the square root. Alright, so here's one we're actually going to work together. We're going to start from the beginning and work through till the end. Step 1, what was step 1 again? Get rid of fractions and parentheses. Notice we have parentheses here. So to get rid of parentheses, we said we use the distributive property. So this side of the equation does not change. 5n plus 34 equals. Now this negative 2 we're going to distribute. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 7n. Negative times a negative becomes a positive. So we get plus 2 times 7 is 14n. Okay, fractions and parentheses are gone. Step 1 is done. Step 2 was to combine like terms. And remember, we're looking at one side and then the other. So we look at the left side. 5n and 34. Those are not like terms. We can't combine them. We look at the right side. Negative 2 and 14n. Those are also not like terms. So our like terms are already combined. We're done with step 2. Step 3 is to separate. We're going to draw our line down the equal sign. We want our variables on one side, and our variable is an n, and our numbers on the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look, and there's an n on both sides. There's 14 of them here and 5 of them here. Because there's more over here, I want my n's to stay on this side, and I'm going to put my numbers on this side. Okay, it doesn't matter if you want to work it the other way. It's still going to get the same answer if you put your n's on the left and your numbers on the right. But just to make it easier, I like to move my variable to the side that has the most of that variable. So we look at the left side first. We want numbers on this side, so we look here. We have a 5n. 5n is not a number, it's a variable. We don't want it on this side, we want it on the other side. So this is like a positive 5n because there's no sign. So to undo positive 5n, we subtract 5n. If we subtract it from one side, we have to subtract it from the other. Now we can't subtract 5n from 2 because one has an n and one doesn't. So we have to subtract our 5n from our 14n. Draw our line. Plus 5n minus 5n is 0. So that goes away. What's left on this side is 34 equals, we're going to bring down our negative 2. And then 14n minus 5n is plus 9n. Now we look again at this side. We have a 34. That's a number. So that side's good. All we have are numbers. We look at the right-hand side. We want n's on the right-hand side. So we look down here. Negative 2, that's a number. We don't want it on this side. We want it on the other side. So to undo a minus 2, we have to add 2. When we add it to one side, we have to add it to the other side. 34 plus 2 is 36 equals negative 2 plus 2. These become 0. We bring down our 9n. Now we have numbers on this side, n's on this side. Step 3 is done. We go to step 4. Divide by the number next to the variable. Here's our variable. Here's our number next to the variable. So we're going to divide by 9. If we divide the right side by 9, we have to divide the left side by 9. So the 9's cancel. We're left with n equals 36 divided by 9, which is 4. Step 4 is done. Step 5 is not needed because our variable is not squared. So we have now solved one problem together. Let's look at another one. K over 7 minus 3 equals 7. Step 1 is to get rid of fractions. We get rid of fractions by multiplying each term by the denominator. So what is our denominator here? Right, our denominator is 7, so we're going to multiply each term by 7. Here's a term, here's a term, and here's a term. So we have 3 terms that we need to multiply by 7. So we multiply this by 7, this by 7, and this by 7. When we multiply our fraction by its denominator, the denominator cancels out, and we're left with k minus 7 times 3 is 21 equals 7 times 7 is 49. Our fraction is gone. Step 1 is done. We move on to step 2. We look at one side, combining like terms. K and a 21, those are not alike. We can't combine them. 49, there's nothing to combine it with. Step 2 is done. Now we're going to separate. We want our K's on one side and our numbers on the other. So we look for our K's. We have a K here. We don't have any here. So since my K is already on that side, I want to leave it there. I'll put numbers on the other side. So I look here, I want K's, that stays. The negative 21 doesn't have a K, so it's got to go. So negative 21, I undo it by adding 21. If I do it to one side, I must do it to the other side. So I bring down my K. Negative 21 plus 21, that cancels. So K equals 49 plus 21, which is 70. We are now separated. And because there's no number next to K, we don't have anything to divide by. And because K is not squared, step 5 is also done. So this one is solved. K equals 70. Let's look at another one. This one has an m squared. So our first step is fractions and parentheses. We don't have any fractions or parentheses. Step 1 is done. Step 2, combine like terms. We look at this side, there's an m squared and a 4. Those are not alike. We look at this side, it has a 16. Terms are already combined. Our next step is to separate. So we want our variable on one side, our numbers on the other. My variable's m. There's already some on this side. There's none over here, so I'm going to leave them over here. And I'm going to put my numbers over here. So I look at the left side. I have an m squared. That stays. It's an m. Plus 4. So that needs to go away. Plus 4, we undo it by subtracting 4. We have to do it to both sides. I bring down my 3m squared. Plus 4 minus 4 is 0. 16 minus 4 is 12. Everything's separated. I have m's on this side, numbers on this side. Now I need to divide by the number next to my variable. Here's my variable. The number is 3. So I'm going to divide this by 3. If I divide this side by 3, I must divide this side by 3. 3's cancel. We're left with m squared equals 12 divided by 3 is 4. So now I've divided by the number next to my variable. Step 5 is to use the square root to undo our m squared. So we take the square root of both sides. M squared, take the square root of that, we get m. Square root of 4 is 2. So our solution is m equals 2. And the last problem we're going to work together is actually one that has two sets of parentheses. So to get rid of parentheses, we have to use the distributive property. 32 stays. 8 times n is 8n. 8 times negative 4 is negative 32. 8 times negative 1 is minus 8. And 8 times 8n is plus 64n. So we have now gotten rid of fractions and parentheses. Step 2 is to combine like terms. So we look at the left side, 32, that's the only term over there. We can't combine it with anything. So we look at the right. We have an 8n and we have a plus 64n. Make sure you take that sign with you so you know how to combine them. Those we can combine. So we keep our 32 on the left. 8n plus 64n is 72n. Then we look and we see a negative 32 and a minus 8. Those are both just plain numbers. We can combine them. Remember, take your signs with you. Negative 32 minus 8 is negative 40. Now we have combined like terms. Our next step is to separate. We draw our line. We want our n's, our variable on one side. We look. We have an n on this side, none on this side. So we're going to leave our n's where they are. We'll put our numbers on the other side. So we look at the left. We have a 32. That's a number. It stays. We're in good shape there. Look at the other side. We want n's. Here's 72n. It can stay. But the minus 40 has no n, so it has to go. We undo minus 40 by adding 40. So 32 plus 40 is 72. Bring down our 72n. And then minus 40 plus 40 becomes 0. So we have now separated. Step 4 is divide by the number next to the variable. Here's our variable, here's our number. We're going to divide by 72. 72, these cancel, so we get n equals 72 divided by 72 is 1. Step 5 only pertains if our variable's squared. It's not, so we're done. That would be the end. We're going to work some problems together now.